Love after 60. Older men only stay loyal to one woman forever if she has this.
Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. Have you ever wondered why some men drift from one relationship to another, never fully settling, while others remain faithful to one woman until their last breath? The difference is not chance, nor simply circumstance. It lies in a profound truth men themselves often cannot explain. A truth tied to what a woman embodies rather than what she performs. The philosopher Plutarch once observed, "The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled." The same can be said of a man's loyalty. Men may be drawn to beauty, to charm, to desire, but true devotion, the kind that lasts a lifetime, is not kindled by appearances alone. In today's video, we are revealing what it truly takes for a man to remain loyal forever, not out of duty, but out of desire, not because he must, but because he cannot imagine otherwise. And the answer may surprise you, because it has less to do with romance and more to do with wisdom. Before we begin, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we explore philosophy, life lessons, and the timeless art of living and loving well in our later years. So let us begin and uncover the deeper truth behind a man's loyalty and the one quality in a woman that ensures it endures.
Lesson number 1. The power of self-respect. A woman who honors herself, her time, her dignity, her worth, creates a presence so compelling that loyalty becomes not a burden, but a natural response. Self-respect is not arrogance, nor is it a wall that shuts others out. It is the quiet strength of knowing that you are whole, with or without another's approval. Men may chase beauty, they may admire charm, but the woman they stay faithful to is the one who refuses to abandon herself. She does not beg for attention, she does not bargain away her values, and she does not confuse sacrifice with love. Her presence whispers, "I choose you, but I do not need you to survive." And that whisper binds him more strongly than any vow. I once knew a woman named Teresa, a widow in her late 60s, who had built a quiet, content life for herself after many years alone. When she began seeing a man who admired her deeply, friends noticed how his attention brought a new spark to her eyes. He would call often, bring small gifts, and speak warmly of their future. Yet as the months passed, moments of carelessness began to surface. He would cancel plans at the last minute, assuming she would always be available. At gatherings, he sometimes spoke over her, as though her words were less urgent than his own. Teresa felt the sting of these moments, but she also knew herself too well to let them slide into a pattern. One evening, after he postponed a dinner they had arranged weeks in advance, she invited him for coffee instead. Sitting across from him, she did not scold, nor did she hide her disappointment. Instead, she spoke with quiet clarity. "I enjoy your company," she said, her voice steady, "but I value my own time as much as I value yours. If we are to continue, it must be with mutual respect." He was taken aback, expecting perhaps anger or silent resignation. What he received instead was something far more powerful, the presence of a woman who would not abandon herself for the sake of companionship. Later, he confessed that it was in that very moment, when she asserted her worth without bitterness, that he realized he could never take her for granted. He admitted that "I knew then that your love would always be a choice, never an obligation, and that made you unforgettable." From that day forward, his behavior shifted. He became more attentive, more mindful, not because Teresa demanded it, but because her self-respect drew forth his own. Her boundaries did not push him away. They drew him closer because they reminded him that loyalty is not won by possession, but inspired by reverence. Teresa later reflected that in her younger years she might have stayed silent, hoping that patience alone would earn her value. But with age came wisdom, and wisdom gave her the courage to say, "I matter too." In doing so, she discovered that self-respect was not only the foundation of her own peace, but also the very thing that made a man want to remain loyal. A man may be tempted by novelty, but novelty fades. What endures is the respect he feels for the woman who respects herself first. She becomes the anchor he does not wish to lose, because she has shown him that love with her is not dependency, but dignity.
Lesson number 2. The reward of emotional depth. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you can never have." Men may chase novelty, but what anchors them is the sense that with one woman they have found not only affection, but a soul they do not wish to lose. Emotional depth is not about constant seriousness, nor about endless conversations. It is about creating a space where he feels understood. Not as a role, not as a provider or performer, but as a man with fears, hopes, and hidden longings. A woman who listens with patience, who responds not with judgment, but with empathy, gives him something rare, a refuge from the world's demands. And once a man experiences that refuge, he will protect it fiercely, for he knows he cannot find it everywhere. That moment of emotional connection became a turning point. Richard began to look at Eleanor not just as a partner, but as the one person he could never replace. He told her, "You are the first person who let me put down the weight I've carried without fear of judgment." For him, her emotional depth was not a comfort he could take lightly. It was the treasure that made him loyal. This is the wisdom of emotional depth. It turns love from a fleeting desire into a sanctuary. Men may wander when love feels shallow, but they remain devoted when love becomes the place they can return to as their truest selves. Emotional intimacy is the reward that no beauty, no charm, and no surface attraction can ever match. And if you have ever seen how truly listening to someone's heart created a bond stronger than words alone could explain, share your reflection in the comments. Your story may remind others that loyalty is not bound by duty, but awakened by the gift of being understood.
Lesson number 3. The treasure of pride. A woman who knows her value does not hand it away cheaply, nor does she shrink herself to keep a man. Instead, she lives within a box of quiet pride, a treasure chest that holds her dignity, her passions, her independence, and her unshakable sense of self. Men may never put it into words, but they are drawn fiercely to women who do not orbit their world, but invite them into a universe of their own. This is the paradox. The woman who does not beg for loyalty, who does not demand it, is often the one who receives it most faithfully. Because when a man feels that he has been chosen by someone who could stand alone, he treasures that bond as rare. I once heard the story of Marjorie, a woman who had spent decades cultivating her love for art. After retiring from a career in teaching, she transformed a small sunlit room at the back of her house into a studio. The walls were covered with canvases in every stage of completion,
the air carrying the soft scent of oils and turpentine, and every surface spoke of a life still reaching for expression. Painting was not a hobby for her. It was the pulse of her days, a ritual that gave her joy and meaning. When she began dating again in her late 60s, her new partner admired her passion at first, but soon struggled with the idea that her evenings were often devoted to her art rather than to him. While he longed for more of her time, she remained steady in her commitment. One evening, after she declined dinner to finish a piece she had been working on for weeks, he asked, half-jokingly, "Do you love your paintings more than you love me?" Marjorie paused, set down her brush, and looked at him with calm eyes. She smiled, not with defiance, but with certainty, and answered, "I love myself enough to never give up what makes me whole. My art has carried me through loneliness, through loss, through the long nights when no one was here but me. If you walk beside me, you will share in it, but I will never abandon it. To love you does not mean I must stop loving what has kept me alive." He grew quiet, expecting perhaps apology or compromise, but instead receiving something far more profound: truth. Later, he confessed that her independence did not threaten him as he feared it might. It awakened his respect. "I realized then that your love would never come from emptiness or desperation. It would always be a choice, and that made me more devoted to you. I knew I could never lose you to neediness, only ever by my own failure to honor the gift of your presence." Marjorie's story is a reminder that pride, when carried with grace, is not coldness, but strength. She did not shrink her world to make space for love. She invited love into the world she had built. And it was precisely that refusal to abandon herself that made her irresistible. Her partner came to see her not as a woman who needed him to define her life, but as a woman whose life was already full, and who chose to share it. This is the power of carrying pride with grace. When a woman respects her own life, her time, her work, her joy, she teaches a man to respect it too. And in that respect, loyalty is born. For no man wishes to betray the woman who never betrayed herself.
Lesson number 4. The mystery of restraint. In love, restraint is not coldness. It is the gentle art of leaving space, of offering presence without surrendering all at once. It is the mystery that keeps desire alive long after the first spark has faded. Restraint shows itself in small, almost invisible ways. It is the pause before answering, the willingness to let silence breathe rather than filling every moment with words. It is choosing not to reveal every thought, not out of fear, but out of trust that discovery is sweeter when it unfolds slowly. Men rarely admit it, but they crave this rhythm, because restraint transforms love into a dance rather than a transaction. Men stay loyal to the woman who understands that giving everything at once diminishes value, while giving with intention creates devotion. The woman who embodies restraint becomes not just a partner, but a journey he never wishes to end, because he senses there will always be more to discover, more to cherish, more to protect. And if you have ever found that leaving space, whether in conversation, affection, or presence, made love grow stronger rather than weaker, share your story in the comments. Your reflection may remind others that in love, as in life, it is the pauses that give the music its shape.
as we draw these reflections together, the truths become clear. Loyalty is not held by beauty alone, nor by charm, nor by need. It is anchored in qualities far deeper, qualities that shape a woman's presence and make her unforgettable. We saw first that self-respect forms the foundation, for no man can remain devoted to the woman who abandons herself. We then uncovered the reward of emotional depth, the quiet sanctuary of being understood, which binds him more strongly than desire. We explored the treasure of pride, the independence and self-possession that make her love a gift rather than a dependence. We reflected on the mystery of restraint, the wisdom of leaving space, pacing intimacy so that love becomes a journey rather than a transaction. And finally, we saw how vulnerability, when carried with courage, transforms affection into devotion, because it reveals truth rather than perfection. These are not tricks, but forms of wisdom. They remind us that men remain loyal for life, not because a woman tries to hold them, but because she embodies a presence they cannot imagine living without. After 60, this truth shines more brightly than ever. Love is not about chasing permanence, but about carrying qualities that make permanence possible. If these reflections have spoken to you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we continue to share philosophy, life lessons, and the art of living fully in these extraordinary years. Thank you for being here today. And until next time, may you walk with dignity, love with depth, and trust that the loyalty you inspire comes not from chance, but from the strength of who you are.